Just posting about my stuff. Here we go. Quit out of there. Here's that. Pull it over here. Down we go. And let's do this thing. Hey there. It is Monday, September 9th in the afternoon, and I am that developer dad, also known as Rob. And I am still working on that NPC generator application that has kind of gone a little bit beyond a, hey, here's how to make some software, into, holy cow, this could be a useful project or a useful product. So what do I got to do to be able to turn this into a product kind of thing? And boy, howdy, that's a lot of work. We've gotten it lifted up into Azure, and right now we are in the midst of turning or building out the usage tracking. And I've got GitHub up here, and I'm just going to add some stuff here. Edit the database tables for usage tracking are in place. Let's get some C# wrapped around those to implement the usage tracking tasks that we identified last Friday. Saveroo. And then we got to start working on gluing all the stuff together and all of that happy nonsense. So let's dive right in. On Friday, we defined iQuota access, load user quota, async and consume quota, release quota, etc., etc. And these are the methods that are going to be called while the application itself is running and the user is doing things like saving their NPC, generating an NPC using the AI, things like that. The subscription access, that's stuff that we're going to need when I stand up the more back-endy things with the integration over to the payment systems and so on, handling events that come back from whatever payment system I choose. We've got, start a new subscription, load subscription, renew subscription, cancel subscription, things like that. So we stood up the database tables this morning. We got those in place, both locally and up in Azure. And I am going to need to start implementing those tables in C#. So we're going to need to load up SQL Server Management Studio again, because I'm going to need those data table definitions. Here we go. Let's connect. Databases, GH tools, tables, here we go. And all I really need is this stuff. So I'm going to open up a new query. And I'm just going to pull these columns over here. Boop. All right. So I wonder. I feel a little goofy here. What if I come all the way home on this and say, select star from information schema dot tables t, where t dot table name equals at table name. All right, bear with me here. Declare at table name varchar 50 set at table name equal to quota templates. All right, and let's run this. Oh, it's not going to work because we're on master. Derp. Use gh_tools. Go. Engage. All right. So, what happens if select top 10 star from information schema, dot columns. Go. All right, table schema, table name. Hey, what's up, Rev? Inner join. Information schema dot columns C on. Hey man, that happens, dude. C dot table name equals T dot table name. Yeah, what's that complaining about? This thing is being silly. Execute. T. Tables T, inner join. T dot, not table catalog, table name. Run it again. I must have mistyped something. All right, so I can kill that. And let's just run this bit. Go. All right, so GH tools, usage, quota templates, ID, ordinal position is nullable, data type. All right. So we are going to pull C dot column name, C dot is nullable, C dot data underscore type, C dot character maximum length. All right, so we got that, right? Cool. So what I'm gonna do, because I'm feeling goofy, is I'm gonna grab this and copy with headers, just for laughs. I'm not gonna use Edge inside Windows. I'm gonna use Safari. And I'm going to go to Anthropic I'm going to try to talk to Claude. I'll just continue with Google using me. Continue. Here we go. Good afternoon, Claude. I have some SQL tables that I want to create entity framework core compatible classes for. If I paste the column name, schema, if I provide a table with the column names, data types, nullability, and where appropriate, max lengths, can you please emit a C# class that represents that table for me? Let's see what Claude has to say. Great. Great. Here's the first table. Its schema is usage, and its name is quota templates. Here's the column data. And let's see what Claude does for me. Due to unexpected capacity constraints. Oh, you suck. All right, you know what? We're not going to use Claude. But I am going to close that. Apple T, OpenAI. And I probably have to go to here, start now. Oh, no. It's fine, Rev. And given I have a SQL table, it's in the usage schema and is called quota templates. Given the following column information, please create a C# class that represents that table to entity framework core. Paste, go. Close enough. Close enough. Copy. And I'm just going to pull this over here. Go into Visual Studio. I've already created a new branch. So let's come into SQL Models and we'll add a class called quota template. Bam. We're going to leave it internal well, I'm just going to paste over the top of that and make it internal again. And yes, these are both strings. This will be a key. Fix the anger code. And we're going to also say database generated with database generated option identity. Good. We need to decorate this with a table attribute and give it a name. Is quota templates schema, not scaffold. Schema equals usage. I believe that's about right there. Let's go ahead and add our other things here. Required maximum length, I believe, is 25. Let's double check that. Yep. And it's the same deal for this. Back to the start of the line. Required. And I actually want to give these guys a little bit of space to breathe in between each other. Get rid of that. Copy. G. Now, I am using short date time on these, and I know there's some goofy attribute I have to use when I'm dealing with date time and entity framework. Let's take a look if I'm doing anything over here. Okay, so these are just regular old-fashioned date times. Good. Let's look in my database, even though it's just a local SQL Server thing, and make sure I am not doing anything weird over here. These are all small date times. Good, good, good. Okay, because in the past when I've used date time columns in SQL, sometimes it'll create date time 2 if I'm not careful, or it'll do something weird, and it won't necessarily always it won't necessarily always use the correct type in dotNet, and Entity Framework or SQL Server will start throwing all kinds of weird, hard to debug errors. But I don't think this problem happens with small date time. The only problem is sometime in the 2040s, I'm going to have to come in and refactor these to some new data type. But if this application is still running in the 2040s, I'll be able to hire somebody to do that at that point, because I'll be in my 70s by the time this actually becomes a problem. And hopefully I'll be living like on a beach or a mountain, sipping adult beverages instead of grinding on code at that point in time. So, okay, I think we've got everything set up here. Good deal. So let's save that and we can close it. And let's spin up a new one. Add a class. And we're going to call this one just class. No, I better give it a name. User quotas. No, just user quota. All right. pop in here and I say user quota. Execute. Copy with headers. Thanks. I'm actually using data annotations instead of Fluent API for setting up these POCOs and the DbContext classes. So let's favor those in your output. Here's the next table. Same schema. Table name is user quotas. And Safari decides to take a nap on me. Of course it does. And I hope I don't have to kill my Safari session. That would make me very sad. Oh yeah, Safari's just flat out crashed on me. Dang blast it. Alright. And sometimes when Safari gets into this state, I gotta reboot my whole Mac. And I hope that's not the case, because that'd be a giant pain in the neck. So I guess what I'll do is instead of relying on that, oh no, it seems to have woken back up. Okay, good. Yep, I can now type in Safari again. The extensions class, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that window died. That's okay. There's another way of doing this. Select public plus c.datatype plus case when c dot is nullable equals 1, then else end plus c.column name, go out to the end, plus get set. Sometimes I am so bloody lazy, it can actually be seen as painful to some people. I'm converting the varchar value no to data type int. What? Public C data type. Execute. Yeah, link pad, whatever. Isn't link pad one of the, oh, is nullable? No. Case one is nullable equals yes. There we go. I'm just going to copy this. Paste. Turn this into a string. Hey, what's up, C-Films? And we're going to say key. Fix the wigglies. DB generated. One of these days, Rob, move that. Yes. Get. Delete this. Get lost. I put that in totally the wrong place. And is there a sync namespaces? Not yet. Sync namespaces. Yes, just freaking do it. There we go. And what's the database generated? Not DB. Database generated. Fix you. Identity. There. Table is user quotas with an S. Schema equals usage. User ID is not nullable. What are you complaining about? Required. Max length is 50. I'm not even gonna bother with that nonsense. Date time. Roll back here. Date time is nullable. You know, IntelliCode and all that stuff is absolutely wonderful, but sometimes it gets really overly helpful, and other times, like when you mistype a type name or something like that, like it'd be really nice if it'd say, hey, if Clippy would actually invoke himself and go, hey, did you mean to type that date time with just the capital D and the capital T? Quote a template ID is required. Current budget is required. I'm just gonna paste, save. All right, so we got quota template, user quota, boopity boop. Close LLM provider, dependency builder, quota access, metered resource kind. I need to create another class. Add class. What's the next one we're going to do? We're going to do user subscriptions. Pop up here. Quota templates, user quotas, user subscriptions. Yeah, we'll do user subscriptions. And just run that out. Copy that. The project is coming along. I am right now setting up the Entity Framework core code for so that I can start keeping track of how much my eventual people are using versus how much they are allotted by virtue of their subscription, stuff like that. Equals usage. This gets a string. Control H, small date time gets replaced with date time. There we go for all of those. Good, good, good. This guy gets a key. Database generated of the option identity. And we'll tell it to import data annotations. Boom. Beautiful. All right. Required. And I started off the stream by pulling the table schema definitions out into just like something that I could paste into GPT. And I tried Claude, and Claude started to generate and show me the code and then backed out and said, nope, if you want this kind of thing, you got to pay me, which is fair. I won't fault Anthropic for that kind of thing. And then, well, no, you saw that happen, Rev. And then I flipped over to OpenAI, and it did one table for me, and then I went to paste, and Safari flipped out on me. So all I did was modify the query that I'm running against my local SQL server to output the columns in the table as if they're C# property declarations, and I'm copying and pasting them into the classes now. So we've got quota, user quota goes to table user quotas. Quota templates, good, that's properly pluralized user subscriptions. And I'm actually going to change this so that it says the singular because an instance of the class is one user subscription, but the table is pluralized. These are all just little naming convention thingies. And then finally, I'm going to bring in token consumption. Now this one's a bit of an odd duck because it's really just here for to give me an ability to capture how many actual exact tokens are being used for each call out to the AI as they happen. Because that's something that I really want to keep an eye on. And it'll help me dial in more fair quotas for that kind of consumption. So token consumption. And I spelled it wrong. Dang, blast it. It's a good thing Claire's not watching this, because Claire Gack would gack all over that typo. Token consumption. Int ID. Replace varchar with string. Boop. Replace. Do it everywhere. Okay. This, Control H for replace, small date time becomes date time. Bam. Click OK. Public string model ID. Yeah, you know what? I made that a lowercase column name in SQL, and I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna leave it lowercase, even though that gives me the heebie-jeebies. All right, so we've got a table, and we'll fix the Anger code, and it's token consumption schema equals usage. Boop. And I has a key. Yes, bring in data annotations. Database generated. Database generated option, identity, user ID, inference time. Let's go ahead and drop the required attributes on all of these. Good. Pop. Pop. Pop and pop. All right. Save all of that. Where'd this public string function name come from? Goodbye. That's silly. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. 7. I missed one. Oh, function name. Duh. Public string function name. Get set. And that also is required. Okay. Let's start making contexts. Add class usage metering DbContext. Bam. Inherits DbContext. Using that, fix formatting, generate the constructor. Base string cn. All right, and RavenDB. I've heard of RavenDB, but I've only heard of it. Checked it. Override void on configuring based on configuring options builder dot use SQL Server. Where are you? SQL Server, and what do I got to pass to this? Connection string. So I pass cn. Bam. Oh. Private read only. Cn, and that needs to be a string. I almost fell back into old VB syntax for a second. What even? I hope that's not an omen. The first 10 years or so of my career, it was all Visual Basic and Visual Basic.NET. And if I never have to install the VB.NET package again, I hope that's just a joke, Rev. I really hope that's just a joke. I mean, there's a lot of people that love Visual Basic, Oh, God. Oh, oh, excuse me. Classic ASP and oof. Oh, ow. Okay, so I've got a usage access DbContext and usage metering DbContext, and I've got my head in my butt. But that's okay. I don't need to keep that. I can actually rename it to user subscriptions DbContext. You know what? That feels really dumb. Delete. Okay. We're only going to use one DbContext here, even though we've got two services or interfaces. And one of those interfaces is going to use the backing tables one way, and the other one is going to use a subset of those backing tables another way. Usage access DbContext. Are we back there? We are back there. I need to set up some DB sets. Public IDB set of. Is IDB set still a thing? It must just be in big, fat entity framework. IDB set, and let's say quota templates. Quota templates. Get set. And we're going to need a reference to that inner namespace. Boop. Here we go. And public DB set. User quota. User quotas. Get set. Public DB set. User subscription. User subscriptions. Get and set. And finally, public DB set. Token consumption. Token consumptions. Get set. Now this guy's a bit of an odd duck. If anything gets pulled out of this DbContext and into something else, this one is probably going to be the first to go. Because this guy is purely for monitoring. And you know what? This table exists purely for monitoring purposes. All right. What makes a coding language sharp? So, funny thing about the sharp symbol for C# and F# and all of those things. When Microsoft was first developing C#, they were the intention was they were thinking about calling it C++++. It was also called cool for a little while during its initial development. And So that's quota access, SQL provider. This is user subscription, SQL provider. This has a user access, DbContext. So instead of the plus, the marketing geniuses, or somebody in the logo department or the marketing department or whatever, said, hey, what if we superimpose all of these pluses together into a sharp sign or a pound symbol? And I'm really glad it's not called C pound, because that'd feel a little weird. But that it became C sharp just kind of invited all kinds of eventual puns, like what's an ophthalmologist's favorite programming language? It's C sharp. But why do optimists? What's an optimist's C pound sign? Yeah, where U.S. programmers would have to write 2 lines of code for every 1 line of code a British programmer would have to write. All right, so I think we could start doing these things. So we're going to receive a quota ID and an amount consumed, and then we're going to send back the updated user quota. So I think the first thing that we should implement, that would be R. There's another answer to that I saw. So I guess we should probably do load user quota async first. So, brain is in butt. It leads up to the initial spec. And yes. Yeah, you talking about C sharp, Rev? It could be C. Yeah, I was involved in a LinkedIn discussion just a couple of weeks ago where, somebody was saying, hey, listen, I want to learn sort of an all-purpose programming language that I can run anywhere. Where should I start? And of course, the usual chorus of, well, learn JavaScript or Java or whatever. And I'm like, if you're going to be going corporate, you want to go with either Java or C sharp. And I would go C sharp first. And they're like, yeah, but C sharp, you're locked to Microsoft. No, not anymore. What? Yeah, I'm running some C sharp apps in a Linux container up in Azure right now. And if I get mad at Microsoft and want to take my business to GCP or Amazon, I could just push those Linux containers over to those cloud providers and say, here, run these. And they'll go, okay. So let's see here. We need a user quota async. So the very first thing we got to do is, inside our op result, we need to create an op result. Yep, absolutely. So user quota is going to be the payload of our op result. So user quota payload payload equals new user quota. Pop. Payload.userID equals user ID. Groovy. Op result of user quota result equals new op result user quota. And we're going to provide the payload right now. Good deal. Now, something that I need to remember, don't forget, when And assigning values to this payload. Get to the payload via the result.payload.property route. Assigning to payload.property won't make it into the result. And yes, I was very surprised by that behavior when I was running the app, but that's okay. Return result. And I got to make this into an async. As a matter of fact, let's do that. Let's do all of that async stuff right the F now so that I don't forget. Async, okay. Yeah. So load user quota async. And var quota data equals ctx dot user quotas dot where q dot user id equals user id dot to list async. Bam. To list async doesn't exist in my stuff yet, so we got to pull that in. And right now this is a task, and I got to do an await, and we also need to do a try. Push this. Up in here. And then we got to do a catch. Exception EX. And the very first thing we do is string message equals EX dot message. No, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to say set up some string interpolation, could not load the quotas for user ID, ex.message. We got to wrap that guy in the curly braces. There we go. Control function end and result.add error. And it is going to get a GUID, not new GUID message. And there we go. And then, come out to the end. Let's see here. So there's that. And up in here, How am I doing this elsewhere? Okay, I've got a transformers namespace off the root of my implementation project. Add new folder, transformers. Add class, and it will be usage data transformers. It's going to be an internal static and have a public static object nullable get quota usage quota this and what is this? This is a list of user quotas. Pardon me. DB models string resource type. And this will be a user quota, but not the SQL Server version. And what that says to me is I need to come up in here and go rename SQL model. Yes. Rename SQL model. Rename SQL model. Yep. And finally, rename one more time SQL model. BAP. Yes. Save all of it. Let's make sure it updated in the context correctly. Good. It didn't disrupt my property names. But I'm gonna have to come out to here. Oh wait, where are my transformers? Oh yeah, no joke, Rev. Although it's funny, I was looking at the pricing for Azure App Services, like outside of the free grant, and for like the lowest tier of like the lowest basic tier, I think I saw that a Windows basic tier is actually cheaper than a Linux basic tier, which shocked me all the heck. Quota. I'm going to call it DTO equals null. And we're going to return the DTO. And var SQL equals DB models dot first or default where m dot resource user quota SQL model definition. Oh, it's using template ID. That's right. and that'll be an int. Quota template ID. Equals quota template ID. If SQL does not equal null, then DTO equals new user quota, and we'll start assigning stuff to it. But I'm going to do all of that stuff offline because this is just basic mapping code, and I'm going to do this for the rest of those SQL models, and we will review in the morning when we pick up on continuing the quota access provider code. I won't implement this stuff. I'll just keep implementing the boring old mapping code from database model to resource model, which the managers and other components are going to be consuming the public resource models. Only the database access project has access to those SQL models. And there's reasons for that. Too many reasons for me to get into in a very short 1 hour stream. But it has to do with protecting the rest of our application from changes in our data layer. So, and I've gone on that diatribe more than once during this build series. I don't want to engage in broken recordism here. So for today, I wish you all a good day, happy coding, and I will be back at this tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And take care of yourselves. Have a great night.